here in 2000, at the end of 2002,
Oh, wow.
and then I left in 2015.
Midnight.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh.
Yeah. How are you? Go ahead and call the May 16th Environmental Advisory Board meeting to order. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from the April 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move they be approved.
John, okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, and Jerry seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Announcements. Are there any announcements from town staff, from planning?
No, I'm just filling in for Shelley Mayo. She's out sick today. So my name's June Cowles, and I'm a senior planner. I was actually here at the end of 2002 until 2015. And I see Mr. Jensen that I know from back then. And now I'm back with the town, and I'm filling in for Shelley tonight.
Okay, thank you, June. Okay, which brings us to our rezoning cases. The first one up is the Castleberry Reserve. Mr. Carpenter.
Good evening. Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street. Here this evening on behalf of the developer Inspire Commercial. I know this is the third time now you've heard about this case. You're probably getting tired of hearing about it, but we originally got approval for the overall PUD in September of last year. And then we came back, we were before you earlier this year, to add the 13-acre Johnson property. And now we're back again to add a 0.6 acre road. That's our second point of access. So it's an extremely narrow PUD amendment request now. You can see it does take the acreage from 103.42 acres to 104.092 acres. So it's a very significant change. And then we do, go ahead, next slide here. Oh, June, are you controlling it? Good. Yeah. So the property that we're adding is on the right side of your screen. You can see it cross-hatched in yellow there. And so we've known the whole time that property will be our second point of access. So there's an existing cul-de-sac stub at Wimberley Oaks Drive that was built as part of that subdivision. And so at that time, it was contemplated that there would be future connectivity there. And so, we knew it would be our second point of access. There was sort of an open question of, well, does it need to be part of the PUD, or can we just connect and then dedicate it as public right of way, because it will ultimately be a public street. And so where we landed in talking with staff was, let's go ahead and add it to the zoning case and make it part of the PUD. And it's also part of our master subdivision plan. It's not changing the unit count, the conditions that were approved as part of the overall PUD, or any other conditions. We're proposing, tonight just to stick with the EAB conditions that were approved earlier this year. Just to remind you of some of those, the first was that we'd have solar conduit in all the homes, that there would be a 4 kilowatt solar system on a minimum of 20 homes, signs and SEMs to reduce pet waste and fertilizer, 5 pet waste stations, drought-resistant warm season grasses, 25-year storm, 4 native hardwood tree species in the landscaping, no clearing or land disturbance in riparian buffers. There's a lighting condition, 75% of plants as native species. And then finally, a condition that was added sort of late in the original PUD was that 25% of the existing tree canopy will be preserved. And then on top of all that, there's the game lands buffer, which I know was also an important part of the discussion before. And I think actually the original meeting here at EAB kicked that off. So that's not changing either. And so we're really, all we're requesting is to be able to move forward to the next step with the EAB conditions as they're outlined in the PUD now that was approved in September of 2023 and then amended last month. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I have a question regarding the original conditions. What exactly was the language on the riparian?
I don't have it in front of me, but it said that there would be no clearing or land disturbance in the riparian buffer, except for necessary grading, I think, for certain, where there's stormwater ponds
Just
that,
stormwater in the SCM, so now, okay, so this, it looks to me here that this is crossing a stream?
That's right.
Or is it perennial or intermittent?
yeah, it will require a stream crossing permit from the Corps. And so that's a good point. I think, I'll need to talk with planning staff and look specifically at that language to see if we need to alter it at all to account for that crossing.
I think the intent with the original language was not to have any road
Right,
in disturbance in the riparian buffer.
right.
So are you proposing that we would actually be changing that condition now to approve road disturbance in the riparian buffer?
To the extent that we're required to for this road, yes. There won't be any disturbances internal to the site, but for circulation and safety and cross access, we do have to have that second point of access. And it was stubbed as part of the subdivision to the east of us. And so, it was contemplated even at that time that there'd be a crossing there.
Is the town requiring that second access?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there a road there? It's just a stub that goes up to the existing.
There is a road. It's a dirt road, and it's a private driveway. So
Across the stream?
it does.
And,
Yep.
And what is that? Is it a culvert or is it a bridge or what exactly is
I
it?
believe it's a culvert.
Okay,
yep.
and so would you improve the culvert or what kind of structure are you thinking about?
It'll have to be improved to whatever the standard that the Army Corps requires for that crossing. So, I don't think we've done the engineering yet for that because it'll happen at construction drawing approval. But that'll be reviewed as part of the permitting process with the Army Corps.
And so compared to like a water and sewer, which is what the original intent of no disturbance or allowable disturbance in
Right.
the riparian buffer, what is the difference in the amount of right-of-way and clearing that would be?
It was listed as water, sewer, and infrastructure. Is how it's listed.
Water.
Any infrastructure.
Sewers, infrastructure, and SCM outlets.
But as far as for infrastructure, that's the only thing that's allowed.
That was, I believe, the intent in the original.
A roadway also.
Yeah, that's what's in our.
Roadway is
Yes.
included in that.
Roadway, I don't believe was included. That's what I was asking about, trying to get clarification on.
Yeah, I can double check.
Yeah. So I don't have the delta between the because again, the assumption going back to the original part of the case was that we would connect and have to cross the stream here. The question was whether it was part of the zoning case. And so before it wasn't, and now it's going to be, I believe it'll be a 27-foot back of curb to back of curb section with curb and gutter. Now I'm assuming narrow to cross the stream, to mitigate the impacts to the greatest extent possible, so.
Are you guys thinking about putting any kind of like bottomless culvert or anything that sort of keeps the stream bed in a more natural state?
That's something we can look at. Like I said, I don't know we haven't fully engineered the crossing yet. And so I'll have to talk to the civil about that, but it is something we can consider.
So the proposal now is just to keep the zoning conditions that were in place for the PUD and apply them.
Correct. Yep.
And so, yeah, I would just like clarification on what the original.
It's maybe one more page. So it does say road infrastructure there.
And these were the original ones that we,
This is what was approved. This is in the approved ordinance for 23 CZ 21, which was the last.
Yeah, I think it was right away, including infrastructure, sewer, storm, water.
yeah, so that was just, yeah, that's a little different than what's in our suggested, okay. All right, does anybody else have any questions?
I do have just one. I might have missed it. I recall we talked about 220 volt in the garages, all the garages. Was that on your list, or did we?
I don't believe that was ever added, but I do think that the houses are being planned that way. So that shouldn't be an issue if we, I mean, if we could add it now. I don't think.
I wish you could, because when we discuss it, it's just an asset for selling the houses
Right.
for what's coming on.
Yeah, and a lot of builders are doing it now.
Just automatic.
Everywhere in the triangle.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a cheap thing to do.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
there's so many EVs, so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Were you gonna add that one?
Yep, yeah, I'll double check with the developer, but I think that shouldn't be an issue. Like, we've checked that before and it just didn't make it in the conditions.
Okay. Is any other questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve with the addition of Mr. Jensen's?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, Jason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Adam, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm gonna oppose. Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Oh, and you're up next too. All
sit
right,
down.
great, welcome back.
Won't
All
sit
right,
down.
all right, so next up we have St. Paul American Coptic Orthodox Church.
Yep. So here, the church is the developer and the owner of the property. I have a couple members of the church with me this evening to observe and see the AB meeting. And the purpose of this case, June, I don't know if we could pull the
Yeah, I'm
slides up.
pulling
Yeah, the purpose of this case is to rezone the property to medium-density residential to allow the church to adaptively reuse the existing home for prayer meetings. And so that's the short-term goal. The church, right now, the property, there's a single-story brick ranch home, but the zoning is residential agricultural, which doesn't permit church uses without a special use permit. And so, we debated which process to go down, but we ultimately landed on the rezoning as being the correct path. You can see the property is about 3.5 acres located at the corner of Kelly and Holland Road. You can see it's sort of a rural area tucked away here among, a lot of the growth in Apex. It's obviously very close to everything. Much of the site is wooded. We could go to the next slide, June. Again, the future land use map designation here is medium density residential, which recommends the medium density residential zoning district. We could go to next slide, June. And the request is to rezone the property to medium density residential. And so, as I mentioned, the purpose of the rezoning is to allow the church to use the existing structure in the short term, and that'll involve a change in use application and a minor site plan that'll be reviewed administratively by staff, and they'll have to, confirm that parking and things like that are compliant with the UDO. But the goal is to leave the existing home in its current configuration, and to not disturb the existing trees as much as we can. So that's the short-term goal. The longer-term goal for the church is for this to be their new church home. That may be 5-10 years from now. It's far out. But so in the long-term scenario, the church would redevelop here, would build a new church building, parking lot, to serve their growing congregation. And so you can see much of the site is wooded. It is a conditional case, so we've been working through conditions with staff. We discussed, well, do we want to, even though the church owns the property, plans are to develop a church there, do we want to keep residential uses in the conditions to be consistent with the land use map? And right now, that's how the conditions read. So single-family homes and detached townhomes are also permitted. And so if you glance at the conditions, you'll see that there are different sets of architectural conditions, just in case at some point in the future, something happened with the church and they sold the property. There are assurances that, whatever's built there meets the architectural conditions that are recommended by staff. So that's a lot of what the conditions are. They're architectural conditions. The uses are outlined. And then if we could go to the next slide, June. And we've included these 4 EAB commitments. The first 3, all of them rather, apply, the first 3 apply to non-residential development, so the church building, and to residential development. The condition in blue will apply if it winds up being a residential neighborhood, and that's because there's no real reason to have a pet weigh station in front of a church building. And so those are the conditions now. I think under, even if this were a residential project, it would be relatively modest. It's about 3.5 acres, and the medium density residential density is 6 units an acre. So, it would permit around 21 homes there. I don't think you could get that many on the site just with roads and required lot sizes. And so it would be a smaller, maybe 10-unit subdivision that would go there. But again, that's not the plan. That's not the church's plan. They're excited about this site. They meet in Apex now and are in the Apex community. And so they're excited about having a permanent home where they can continue to serve the community and have a physical presence. So happy to answer any questions.
Have they spoke to how large of a church in the future they would like to build?
They have. There've been, they don't have building plans.
Right.
I think, plans that I've seen have been maybe 15,000 square feet. Is that about right? And so, even then, that's a relatively small church building. And they have had sketch plan review with staff for their sketch plan for the ultimate church build out. So they've already got some comments on that. So there's been a lot of prep work to even get here to know that those plans are possible. So,
In looking at the property right now, I see there's a lot of wooded area around it.
right.
Right there where the house is and the yard and
Yep.
everything. How does that square footage compare to what the footprint they're thinking about doing for the church would be?
Right. So can we go back to the aerial, June? Okay, so yeah, in the short term, the church will just be using the existing structure. So the bulk of
Fine at this point.
yeah, right. So
the future,
the bulk of those trees will stay. The sketch plan they have now shows the building sort of in the northern corner of the site, with the stormwater pond closest to the intersection because that's where the low point of the site is, and then with the parking lot sort of behind the church building. And so we've had discussions about that plan with staff. Access has been a big part of this because we are so close to the intersection. We've worked out, you'll see there's some very prescriptive conditions in there about access. And so right now the driveway is on Kelly Road. In the redevelopment scenario with the new church building, transportation staff has recommended that the driveway be on Holland Road, and that the driveway on Kelly be closed. And then, there eventually will be a traffic circle at the intersection of Holland and Kelly. That's in the town's long-range plan. So that, I know those aren't directly environmental conditions, but it does help understand the project.
The drive off of Holland Road is going to kill a lot of trees. You're going to lose a lot of trees from that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Awful lot.
it's a small site. Yeah. So,
And the neighbors to the north, that's residential and that is an occupied home?
yes, yes. And we've spoken to Mr. Rose, who's the homeowner there, several times.
And so are you proposing any kind of, what does the buffer look like on that northern?
So I believe the UDO requires a 20-foot type B buffer. And so we would obviously, with the existing tree cover that's there, try to leave the trees there. We have looked at widening that. We talked to the property owner. We're a little hesitant to do that just because the building will be in that location. And so, we don't have full site design. And so, it is a small site. And so we want to be careful about committing to a buffer that's going to make site planning very difficult. We have talked to Mr. Rose. There are some trees on his property as well that you can kind of see there. Maybe some of them are hardwood trees because they're harder to see in this aerial. But there are existing trees on his side of the property line too that will help with separation there from the church building.
You would have to come back to us again if it changed from this use to a same use, but from this house to a larger structure.
Well, if the
Because you have a whole new site plan.
for the site plan, or you, as far as coming back to EAB?
Yeah, the question was is what you're proposing now versus when a new site plan comes in for probably a larger parking area, and then the building is the new building, that would be a whole new site plan.
That's right.
Submitted, and it would have to come back to EAB anyway.
I don't know, site plans don't go to EAB.
It's not rezoning.
Yep.
We only deal with the rezoning.
Yep. But we would have to file a new site plan. So we'll have a minor site plan for the change in use from the home to a church use. And then we'll have major site, I don't know if it's a major site plan, but a regular site plan submittal for the ultimate church building, for the new building. And so those would be, but they would both of those will be reviewed with the zoning conditions that are approved as part of this case. So.
And then if it actually flipped to residential, it would not come back for,
Right, we would have to file a subdivision plan, but it wouldn't require a rezoning.
So what we've got to do is look at all three
Exactly,
things
yeah.
right now.
yeah, right now. Okay,
So I guess my first thing would be, if there was a proposed site plan for the future overall, where exactly is that existing driveway going to stay the center line of the future driveway? Even with the improvement that you'll do with this here?
Most likely, yes. The driveway, there is an option for us to move it, even in the short-term scenario, with reusing the building to move it to Holland. But, we've discussed both of those options with transportation. But, we haven't landed on exactly which way it's going to go yet. We're really at their mercy in terms of what they think is the safest option.
So the least impact would be to leave the driveway where it is now, since
Right,
it's already cleared.
Right. That's the current thinking. And then, there would be, some parking, probably have to add a small parking pad to meet the parking requirement around, probably either behind or to the side of the existing structure.
okay, so, as far as, so let's break this down. So for the existing, the existing building as a church.
Right.
There were, I believe, 3 that you had put up there that were in green font.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I go back to those. It's the last.
So right now, you would not need an SCM if you just use the existing building, correct?
Right.
Okay. And you wouldn't be doing any planting at this time? It would just,
We don't think so, because I think the existing trees will satisfy, go well beyond the buffer requirement. If there were an area of the site like, along the road or something that had to be planted to meet a buffer requirement, we may have to do that, but we don't think that's going to be required right now.
Okay, and you're not installing grasses?
No.
None at this time, so.
Right.
So is the board's recommendation for use the church as its current state? We don't have any additional recommendations.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Use the
house.
The house.
Use the house
Right.
as the
Right.
church.
I have nothing,
We don't
for
have
that.
any recommendations about that.
No.
because they're just.
But if we're going through a zoning change,
Yeah,
We have to.
we
act
have to
before.
consider what's coming down the
yeah,
pipe.
that's what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
1, 2, and 3, yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah,
and
1,
3,
2,
yeah,
and 3.
yeah, we're trying to.
Okay, and so maybe we should motion on that.
Well, I do have a question.
Sure.
As is, are they going to be putting in a parking lot to increase parking facilities?
Yes, we'll have to meet the minimum parking requirement.
Okay, what is the minimum parking?
Well, it's based on the number of seats in the auditorium for churches. And so we're going to have to figure out what that number is, because there's no auditorium in the single family home. So we'll work with staff on that about what makes sense.
And would it be a paved parking lot or gravel, some kind of?
I think we'd prefer it to be gravel, but I believe it's required to be paved. Yeah.
Okay. And then would you have to manage the stormwater coming off of it?
Possibly, and that'll be reviewed at when we file the minor site plan, based on the parking lot size, where the water's going, the amount of vegetation we're leaving, which will be I think it'll be, most of those trees will stay regardless of the size of the parking lot. I mean, it's not going to be a Apex Baptist parking lot.
Right.
So
Yeah, but you're still adding impervious
That's
surface
right.
to the site, so you are changing the stormwater runoff.
that's right.
So if you put in a parking lot, then you're not gonna landscape around it to make it as more aesthetically pleasing?
Well, we'll have to meet the UDO requirements for that.
The landscaping requirements for a parking lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so that would be happening either way, if you
Yes.
use the house as,
Yes.
okay. Do y'all have any thoughts? So we do actually need the landscaping ones in there perhaps.
Yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
if the existing home is used as the church, because of the parking lot. Any other thoughts about the home as the church? Okay. Is there a motion for the home as a church to recommend that at least 75% of the plants shall be native species and reduce the irrigation requirements to plant warm season grasses? Or any additional things?
So the plants that are currently there, they may not be 75% native or native R.
Right.
So do we need to update that language to say any and newly installed plants should be 75%?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I like that. Does
Native.
the board like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. All right.
and with that, I would say, yeah.
Okay, so, motion is at least 75% new plantings,
Yes.
okay, and the warm season grasses, all right. Does anybody want to move on that?
I'll move on.
Okay, is there a second?
second.
Is that Mr. Jensen? Yes. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Okay, so now let's discuss when they build a bigger church. What do we recommend for that? I would say probably these same ones,
Same
and then
ones,
at
for
that
sure.
point, you all will need a bigger parking lot and potentially a bigger SCM, correct?
That's right, that's right.
Okay,
It'll be a full site design.
full site design, okay. And so, at minimum, I say we take the 3 in green with the plantings, the new plantings.
I'd like to see some percentage of existing trees preserved
Okay,
in there. And you're looking at basically putting the church and the driveway in where the most of the trees are.
Right, right. I mean, it's a 3-acre site, you know, at an intersection, so,
You're gonna lose a lot of the trees.
right.
What kind of percentage are you looking at?
let me ask about that. So would you have to have, is any RCA required if it's a church? Oh, that's only for
No, that
resident,
RCA would be required.
Yeah.
okay. And what would the percentage of that be?
Guessing 10%. I haven't checked that recently.
I'd have to double check.
I was gonna suggest more like 25.
I was thinking 25, 50 would be impossible, but 25 might be good.
I'd like 50, but I don't
50,
think it
yeah,
will.
you would be able to do it.
And I don't know if we can get 25, to be honest with you. I mean, we can look at it and you know, evaluate it with the plans, but like I said, you know, we've got to fit parking, church building, stormwater, and so it is, and we'll have dedication for roads too that we've agreed to.
How many square foot did you say the church, big church would be?
They don't have a design yet, but I'd say 10 to 15,000 square feet. And really, like I said, the main purpose of the rezoning case is just to use it now for meetings. So
Right.
Right.
It's about 4.5 times the square footage of that home they're showing, more or less.
yeah, maybe what is it? Maybe right at 3,000 square feet.
I was thinking about 2,500 square feet, so like I said. Again,
Right. Right.
I guess it would be, I'm just thinking out loud, if there was a potential site, you know, a conceptual site plan that was there where the parking lot would be in the same place the parking area would be for here, so then you're already minimizing the impact, you know,
Right.
if all possible. We can't make that recommendation, but
We could go down on that and then suggest doing solar arrays on the actual church. I know the churches can have quite a bit of an impact on the amount of electricity that they're using to warm and heat that whole big area. And a lot of them are starting to put in.
There's an awful lot of volume in
solar.
the church.
well, that's assuming we're talking about high ceilings in the church too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said it's also assuming they're talking about very tall ceilings in the church. The new church may not have very tall ceilings. So.
Right.
So, tree canopy preserved, or where are we landing?
Let's do 15% on that.
Okay,
Is
we're
that
recommending 15%.
Just a little bit more than
Okay.
the minimum, but we understand that
Right.
there's spatial considerations there.
I think the RCA is higher than 10 required.
Yeah, the development located south and west of North.
540.
540, it's 25% of the gross site acreage for multifamily, mixed use, and non-residential uses.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
so it has to be 25.
Is there, June, a minimum acreage for that?
guess
Like
so.
like sites that don't qualify?
Let me see, it just says all development which do not meet criteria 12C3.
I think it's 1 acre.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember how many.
Well, I think we need to stick with 25%.
Yeah, we'll go with,
be
we'll go
honest.
with that.
Thank you.
Being that you do have neighbors to the north, I would like to recommend that the preserved areas, the RCA or buffers, be focused on buffering that, or if any of the other development that's going on in that area, if they have any kind of preserved space, you try and link it up with
Okay.
yours. Okay. So the parking lot, I'm presuming in the new church would have lighting. That would follow the new
Yeah.
UDO lighting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't
Yeah.
have to think.
I went through that the other day,
don't
actually,
have
to
to deal with
answer
that.
the neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of superfluous now.
Right.
Okay, great. So Jason had a suggestion about solar. What do you all think about that?
I missed what the exact,
I was suggesting put a solar array on the top of the new church.
I agree.
The church is being built. I don't know what size to work.
I would go light and say 1 kW for every 2,000 square feet. Right? That just basically says do something. And I think it's important because the practitioner, the people coming to the church will see that.
Yeah.
And it's very light. But it does something, and in actuality, when the church gets into it, they'll find, I think, that it may be well worthwhile to go larger to get a better return on the cost.
And I've been seeing a lot of churches around the area putting solar panels on top.
I'm sorry.
I've been seeing a lot of churches putting solar panels on. So.
Yeah, it's, well, with the new federal program, churches get 30% rebate, whereas they didn't before, so it makes it pretty good. And then if the people that are going to the church donate to it, they can possibly get money off of that. So it can be a very good deal for a church.
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about that. I will say, to the extent that it's, cost up front, that, they're really just trying to, over the next 10 years, they're trying to raise enough money to even build the church. So, if it's a large cost up front, it might be difficult for them to
It isn't.
muster. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're-
Yeah, I know 1 kilowatt's
5 or 6
small.
kilowatts, and that's minimal.
Right.
And it repays itself. It truly does. At least it does now.
All right, so we have the 3 in green. We're not doing anything about the canopy because it has to be so high already. Recommendation to group your protected areas as much as possible, and then 1 kilowatt solar per 2,000 square feet.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I'd go that. That allows for, if there's shading and stuff like that, they can move it around on the rooftop.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very light. That's very light.
Okay. Any other discussion for the new church option? Okay, is there a motion for those items as our recommendations?
I move they be adopted.
Okay, John, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Adam second.
No, wait.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now let's talk about if it goes single-family home. So we're
3 zoning cases in one here.
Yeah, it is. All right, so on this one, you had the 3 in green plus an additional in blue. So those would be townhome style mostly?
No, they would be
No.
single family, and then their detached townhomes are also permitted, which, as I understand it, are just single family homes that are on more than one unit on one lot. So they would, so they're all single family. Townhomes are not permitted.
Okay,
So it would be all single family. Am I characterizing detached townhomes correctly? I think, yeah, it threw me off originally.
Detached townhomes have to be alley loaded.
Right,
okay, okay.
right.
So that's even more surface.
But they're detached, so they look like cottage court, single family sort of style, right?
Right, it's, like a row house.
Okay. Okay. But space in between them.
Right, right.
Exterior
Each unit,
units.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, so for that then, so that probably gets us into, okay, it'll only be 21, so at weigh station one per, that
Yeah.
seems about right.
Yep.
Thoughts on the conduit?
Conduit in the, I'm sorry, in the new homes?
This-
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's almost, I think that's automatic almost.
Yeah, that's fine.
To pre-wire them for solar.
Okay,
And if we're on solar, I'll just run through, if I may, I'd say minimum 4 kilowatt system on 10% of the homes. That's basically what we
Four.
typically do.
Or two, sorry. Can't do that.
Huh?
That'd be about two
Yeah,
homes.
okay.
let's see.
Yeah, you just don't know how many homes you have, it's
Yeah.
trouble.
If we built to the maximum, yeah, it would be.
Okay.
It would be two, if it was 10%, because it'd be about 21.
One or two, depending.
Yeah.
Say on a 3 acre site, by the time you
We were not fitting
get
21.
your buffers in there and your
Yeah.
infrastructure in there and your setbacks in there, all those requirements, you're gonna be, yeah, you'll be hard pressed to get 10 lots in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Any additional recommendations for the residential beyond the ones that are displayed in Mr. Jensen's solar?
And the green would apply to residential as well, right?
I'm sorry?
That's
green.
right. That's how I intended it.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So would these have very large yards or?
I wouldn't anticipate that they would, just based on the constraints. No,
There's
yeah.
not gonna be leaves to clean up. Okay.
No.
Maybe 3 leaves on a lot.
But, it could be, I mean, there's no minimum, so someone could build 2 or 3 homes on it if they wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion about the single family option? All right, is there a motion for what we have there and the solar?
And the overall,
So moved.
And I'm sorry?
and the overall, right, for what
Yeah,
they came for tonight.
yes.
I make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Jensen, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And that was all the uses you had
Yeah.
proposed?
Yeah, yes,
I think that covered it.
I believe so. Yeah. The others may have been, I mean, they're accessory uses to residential, but I don't think there's anything else.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
was just wondering, on this one, were you removing school?
The school, we do still have school in there, but it would be as part of the church. So like a small private religious school as part of the church building. So I think, we can apply the same conditions that they recommended for the church can also apply to the school if that's amenable to the board. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think that's it.
Scenario 4? No, I'm kidding. Thank you.
All right, next rezoning case, yard waste transfer station, Town of Apex.
Okay, I think I just go ahead and leave it, or you got it, okay.
Yep. So, good evening. I'm Matt Weatherall. I'm a facilities manager here at the town, representing the town for this rezoning case. And here to talk about the rezoning for these two parcels here, 1341 Perry Road and this small piece right here, 0 Perry Road. So let me zoom out a little bit to give a little bit more context to where this is located. So this is this triangular piece right here where Perry Road dead ends into US 1 to the south. Tingen Road is here to the west, Apex Peakway to the north, and then we have Highway 55 as major roads. Looking at some of the areas surrounding the property, we have this currently vacant property here, US 1 to the south, obviously, a realty property with the SCM stored on it. We have Iron Gate neighborhood here to the west. So why is Apex looking to rezone this site? So currently, Apex doesn't have a yard waste transfer site for our residential yard waste collection. So we are in turn hauling to 3 different locations. So we are looking to consolidate all of our yard waste into a single location so we can reduce the amount of hauling and eliminate all the additional fees that go with that. And we're looking to make sure that our town's curbside yard waste program remains sustainable. So that site is currently zoned as light industrial and requesting it to rezone to light industrial with conditional zoning with a special use permit to add a yard waste transfer site. So let me touch on some of the proposed conditions and buffers that we have proposed so far. To the west here in this red is a 100-foot greenway and utility easement. Just next to that is a proposed 30-foot type A buffer. Then we have a 60-foot type A buffer along the US 1. Did want to point out that this 0 Perry Road property is not going to be touched at all throughout this development. Then at the north, we have variable width type A buffer from 10 to 60 feet. And you can see as we get closer to where some of the existing site is on this property is where we reduce that to a 10-foot buffer there. The rest of that transfers out to 60 feet and 60 feet along the rest of the area. We also have a fire vehicle access road, so the site is not served by water or sewer currently. So this was a condition proposed by the town to install this fire vehicle access road to utilize the pond as a water source if there's ever any emergencies on the site. So currently you can see we've got kind of see where we're at through the topo lines here, that we've kept everything in this area relatively undeveloped. We've got some equipment and material for public works and water resources storage out there, and that's what's out there. But we are looking and also asking for a 120-foot diameter yard waste pile, not to exceed 30 feet in height, and to maintain a minimum of 25 feet off of the property line to the parcel to the north. So looking at specifically at EAB zoning conditions, we are proposing to increase riparian buffer widths to 20 feet above the minimum, limit tree clearing, SCM, or infrastructure in either zone of the riparian buffer, provide 50% of existing tree canopy, and retain and protect the existing pond. So one thing just to clarify is that we aren't doing, outside of this fire apparatus, fire vehicle access road, we are not touching anything else on the site, so we are not doing any additional clearing or anything to that effect. So we are containing everything to what's already developed on the site.
They've got a lot of acreage there that's not being used.
That's correct.
It will not be used. Is that
We have no plans of using it right now.
right now? I guess you're limited to what you can put on there, though, to the 4 items on your proposed uses, right?
Correct.
And are there actually streams on the site?
In this easement side, this property line actually follows a creek bed, and then there is a small stream that is intermittent that comes right about in this corner of the property.
Okay, so you're saying, so you're increasing the riparian buffer width on that stream? Is that the feature?
Correct,
that's being
yep.
referenced there?
This is, you listed it as a transfer, yard waste transfer.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly? You're going to put it there for a while.
The intent is that it's gone every 1 to 2 days. So this is not going to be anything extensive. This is not, right now, this isn't going to support any kind of like citizen convenience center for drop off right now. This is for us strictly supporting the curbside yard waste collection. And so we're consolidating things, and then the intent is to have a contracted hauler in there loading up and moving things as things go. So there's no intent of leaving piles there for days on end.
Long time ago, like 20 years ago, they used to have compost piling. They piled up. It was for picking up all the leaves, residential leaves, and they just left them. And of course, that town was a lot smaller at that time. But and I'll admit, I went out there and helped myself to some of the compost. And and I guess that's kind of my question. Is there any thought about composting for town citizen use? I mean, we have at the facility over here, right over here, we have the chips available for people, and if there was, I think that would.
There has, yeah,
What I guess I'm saying is, don't limit yourself to too small of a zone.
yeah, we haven't had any discussions about developing composting. Really, that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're looking at, given kind of the pressing need of trying to get this yard waste transfer site set up. But we haven't thought about that, but it's definitely something we can consider in the future.
There is an interest in composting from the town citizens. So that's definitely something y'all might want to start looking at.
And as an add-on, I talked to Phil Barnes about a possible little nursery of sorts, and this exact site, before it ever came up before us, was on the something to look at as a place that. Now, I don't know what the nursery aspect is ever going to happen, but that's just another aside. That please don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
What was the total acreage again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. The two parcels together are 50.55 acres.
And how much area is the town plan on using? Like actual use?
Actual use, it's going to be, I don't know the area off the top of my head, but it is retained just to this area that's already cleared up here.
So, I mean, this is a lot of acreage, and it's a lot of trees right now. Is there any thought about dedicating this as open space to preserve that in perpetuity, or is the town thinking of subdividing off half of it? And
There's nothing thinking about open space right now. So the land use plan has this parcel plus the parcels to the north is future zone is light industrial. So I don't think that really makes sense at the moment.
okay.
There's some restrictions. This came from the Eva Perry library business.
No, that one is
Wasn't it?
gone.
It's gone?
The town's already paid its share for
Oh,
the
it's done
library
that.
thing. Yeah, to facilitate this.
Okay.
It was kind of it could have gone there, but
But I thought there was restrictions on this property because of the
it was
donation.
monetary, and like
Okay.
resources, not
Okay.
land. And the resources have gone to the library at this point, and more than fulfilled that
So
obligation.
it's not obligated to do anything
Correct.
at this point.
But the town already owns this property.
Yes. Maybe I'll say there's been discussions, I think, when we had the rezoning, you guys may recall, on Tingen about a road that may go through here, and it may be a totally different setup, I think, in the future. But I think this is just an interim kind of zoning, and the town can do this whenever we want to because we own the land. So there's no like risk for the future as much. But the road may be realigned, and there may be consolidation of properties or whatever that might make this a much more viable for more than just a transfer station in the future. I'll say it that way.
And then would it come back through for an environmental review?
Certainly it would, because the uses, if there is a road here and more water and sewer and all that stuff, it'd be a much more broad amount of things that could go here at that point.
It's in an area the light industrial might well evolve into. It might go into that.
50 acres is a lot of trees. Okay. Is there Any other questions or comments, or is there a motion to accept the zoning conditions as proposed?
I'll make a motion to approve as is.
Okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, Patrick, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, we don't have anything on the agenda. The next thing would be sort of an Earth Fest post-event review. Thank you to everybody who was able to come and participate. Feel like it went pretty well. There was a lot of engagement with people. I think having the spin wheel game and having the kids do that before they got their giveaway item really made the parents stay put so we could talk to them for a little bit
That was
longer.
helpful.
We did, John brought a book to get some citizen feedback, and we did get a few things from folks. The main being, we heard several people were interested in composting, kind of like Carrie does. They want a place to bring their compostables. We did mention, you know, you can pay for a curbside service, but you sort of have to have disposable income to be able to do such a thing. One thing that was recommended is that the soccer fields don't have enough recycling bins. That was some feedback that came from the citizens. They felt like a lot of the single-use water bottles, Gatorade bottles, whatever, were ending up in trash cans or just strewn around
Yeah, I
because there were
think
no
their
bins.
thinking was there were no recycling
Yeah.
bins, there were just
Yeah.
trash cans and.
Okay, yeah, so that was one thing we heard. Somebody else wanted to allow public comment during the EAB meetings. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, given our role. And then couple things again about trees, preserving trees. So all in all, a variety of comments. And I do want to thank the water resources staff, who we don't have here today, for helping us transport
Yes.
all our stuff to and from their building. So for the next time, we do still have giveaway prizes. They are in the mechanical room storage area of the stormwater building, so that's where they are for whoever ends up on the festival subcommittee. That's where the spin wheel game went back to as well. And I think we just need to start thinking about it earlier for a topic. So as far as topics that we've done, so this year was, you know, waste, reducing waste. Last year was the native plants. The year before that was dark sky, which I felt like people were pretty engaged in. The year before that was sort of the same waste thing again, and I'm not sure what the first year was. That was not on.
I think that may have been the
That,
first
that
year.
was the
I
first year.
think so, yeah.
So those are the things that we've done. So maybe next meeting or two, if you all could start thinking about what we might want to do in the future, we can talk about it then.
How soon does the planning committee, I guess, get together and start discussing for next?
We've sort of been behind the curve at any time, really, is when they
Okay.
can start doing that. The next event that we have scheduled would be the next Earth Fest, assuming that's
Okay.
gonna happen again next year. If for some reason it doesn't, I think we would then plan to do Peak Fest instead.
So it's one or the other, never both?
They're pretty close together.
Right.
And
done both
it's-
before,
It's
but-
hard to get everybody to, you know, enough people to help out for both events.
Yeah, especially because Peak Fest is, you know, it's set up as at 6 a.m. and it goes to like 4 or 5
Till
p.m.,
whenever, yeah.
Whereas
Wow.
Earth Fest is 4 hours. The actual event is only 4 hours
Okay.
long.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that our contingency would be to do Peak Fest if Earth Fest doesn't go off. So they can start work at any time, and if you'd like to be on that,
I would like, I would like to be on that.
yeah. So, open to any educational topics that we would like to do for that. Let's see.
Cary gives away their trees actually at kind of like the Earth Fest. At least that's what I gather from their website.
Oh,
And
really?
that's, yeah.
Small ones, right?
Yeah, they're probably a caliper of 1 inch or half an inch. They are small, and they have a picture, I could pass it around, of kids planting them. So that would be something I think.
So, yeah, maybe a subcommittee could look into that, because I feel
Yeah.
like there's probably a lot of details around that.
Oh, I'm sure there
you know,
are.
Keeping the trees alive till they're given away. Yeah, but that might be something that we could look into if we wanted to sort of pair it with the topic.
Yeah.
Educational topic.
Maybe
for
get the
next
tree
time.
cap folks to
Yes.
assist in that.
Yeah, I noticed the tree
All
cap
three.
folks had their own pet, which was down the way from ours, and I'm not sure what they were talking about. So I think it would actually be nice to get us a little more integrated.
Yeah, side by side too. Or something.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do y'all have any thoughts about how it went or things you enjoyed?
I'd like to have a quick discussion back to the recycling bins not being available. The recycling bins in the parks aren't labeled. We talked about that, I think.
That's right, and, yeah.
And
They're just blue or,
They're blue.
blue or
they're
black.
blue,
Yeah.
yeah,
You just have to know blue is,
But
right.
there's
yeah.
no, it
But
doesn't
it's
say.
not-
but there's not a
recycling.
label on it. And maybe as a board, as a recommendation to the Parks Department, that they get those things. Can we do that more formally? Because we've talked about it,
Absolutely, yes.
but just have a vote on it and say, this is our recommendation to the Parks Department.
Is that who maintains them and collects the
Yeah, the
recyclables?
Parks Department, certainly in the parks, and I expect, the soccer field's our park,
Yeah,
so
But if you're going
I'd expect they do.
Can I expand upon what you're saying? I think that's a good idea. I'm always like nervous about people that give input at these things, and then the impression is we never even listen, nothing ever comes of it. So I think it'd be good to kind of go through that list that you just read, and maybe this board thinks about, like, do we want to kind of investigate? This is an easy one. The recycling is an easy one, but like the composting is more complicated, and maybe some stuff is like higher and smaller lifts, but to come up with some kind of recommendations or make sure that the Parks Department gets an official notice from this board saying, we heard this, we agree, would you guys respond to us or something? And kind of have it be more formal, maybe next meeting or whenever you guys want to do it, kind of do it formally, do it in writing, ask for some feedback from the different departments if that's appropriate.
Good idea. Put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
but more than just kind of reading it here and kind of just talking, I think that
Yeah.
you have
It
more,
goes away after that.
yes.
It does.
And I think if we're gonna be labeling this recyclable or not recyclable, we ought to go ahead and put up a sign that says these things are recyclable.
Oh, like an actual.
Yeah, like a little printout.
Diagram.
Website.
A long time ago, I made up my own little please recycling signs and went down to the community park, stuck them up there, and they didn't last long. I think staff took them down.
I do have to say, when I was in California, I moved back there in 2015, but the town that I was working with, they were starting to separate all their, we had to go to a class.
Yeah.
And at first we were like, a class to figure out, but oh yeah, there's so many different, and you're like, and so my dad lived in a different county and he had a different setup. And so when I would have to go but Dad, you're putting in it, he goes, no, this is how, so each county, each jurisdiction had their own.
Stuff in Cary is done differently than the stuff here.
Right.
It depends on who's handling the recycling contract.
But I was surprised how difficult,
It's complicated.
yeah, it
It
is
really is.
complicated to figure out what goes in what.
And it takes sector bins to make it work.
Do we know if
But,
the parks?
but when China decided they weren't going to take junk, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, do we know if the parks in Cary, if they are labeled or not, or any other cities nearby?
No, that would
I really don't
maybe.
know.
That could be part of the-
Yeah, some fun, seeing how they're handling it. Yeah, and what are the bins actually? Are they like solid trash cans? Or are they something
I know
that the
the-
sticker could be adhered
The
to?
the new ones out there at, Pleasant Park. trying to remember what they were because we play soccer out there. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but you're talking about the placement of them. They're not necessarily where you'd look.
Okay, so there might be actually two issues, labeling and locations.
And I want to
And
say they
more.
might have had 2 trash and 1 recycle.
Okay,
Like I said, but I don't recall.
yeah, yeah, maybe that's something that we could, investigate, like,
Yeah, I remember I was at Peak Fest and I couldn't remember, I don't know who's setting up but it was a blue can, but there wasn't any label, and I was like, and I looked in there and there was trash intermingled with.
yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, so let's,
At least it made it there.
yeah. We
At least
don't
the
want
trash
to
made it
wish
something.
cycle. That's true. Okay, so next meeting we'll plan to get together a formal type recommendation, and maybe in the interim we can just collect some information. Does anybody want to volunteer to maybe start collecting some information, touch base with parks and see what they know, what they don't know? Does anybody have time?
I can reach out to Angela and talk to her about it and see if she's, I mean, we have to, you know, when we do as developments, when we put in greenway trails, we're required to put in, you know, dog waste stations and trash receptacles, but I don't know if it calls out recycling receptacles.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think, I don't think it does. But yeah, I can reach out to Angela and see.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Jerry, would you like to be the chair of the subcommittee for festivals?
Sure.
Who else would like to be on the festival committee?
I skipped this year. Well, to the extent I'm still on there next year, on the
Oh,
board
right.
next year, I'll be on the committee, but
Okay, so, you too?
yeah.
All right, let me know how I can help. Yeah, and you guys can just informally work together and
Okay.
meet as necessary. Excellent. And so something else that when Adam, Jason, and I were sort of acting as the subcommittee, we did hold aside a portion of our budget in case we wanted to do a second event in the fall. Obviously, it wouldn't be a festival, it would be something else. And I think we can do this, maybe Alan, like, could we do an event and would we have to like put out a notice saying we're not conducting official business even though we might have a quorum? Is that possible, or how does that work? Is that how it would work?
We would do like a notice of attendance.
Okay,
So we do that for like council events where they be present, they're not transacting or conducting town business.
okay, great, thank you. So, if y'all think of an event we can do
Think
in
of
the
something else
fall.
we can do,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's not an obligation,
Right,
but
I
I
understand,
did
I
want to let
understand.
you know that we do have some budget set aside, so if we needed to purchase extra stuff or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
additional giveaway items, we could do some kind of educational outreach stuff.
Actually, planting trees is the best time is actually in the fall,
Well,
would be
yeah,
something to
yeah,
consider.
I guess, yeah, we could
Would
see
this
how,
be like our own activity, or is it with something else that the town is doing?
it would currently be our own, but that doesn't
Okay.
mean we couldn't tie it into
Unless
something
we can
else.
find, yeah, I mean, we can find something the town's doing and maybe try to latch onto it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a harvest festival or anything like that.
I don't believe we do,
No.
but that,
That's what I was thinking, something like that.
yeah, that would be, yeah.
I don't.
And I don't know that Tree Cap does anything in the fall. I think they do Arbor Day, but that's like in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, okay.
You know, I would like to add one of the comments, on, that we got was the community garden.
Correct, yes.
There. I know our church has a community garden or helps to sponsor a community garden at the end of Tingan Road. And I don't really know what the requirements are for getting stuff out of it or planting. But they are I mean, it's a decent sized plot too right now. They
And
were
do you
able,
feel there's more than enough interest in that? Well,
It
I guess
gets
it's
used.
only open to members of your congregation, right?
No, it's not.
Oh.
I really don't know what the requirements are for it. I
Okay.
just know we end up putting, it's one of our missions, part of our mission work, is helping that. And, we coordinate the space and we pay for the electricity out there and stuff.
Oh, wow, okay. And is there water out there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been out there once or twice. I don't,
I haven't been to the new one. The old one used to be on my road.
yeah, the old one was nice. Yeah, there was a pond right there. Yeah, but
Yeah, so I feel like this is not the first time I've heard comments about a community garden. I'm not sure in the town, would that fall under like a park and rec kind of?
yeah, I'm
And
not-
you need land,
The
obviously.
other question is, what type of community garden? 'Cause
Right.
The type that you're talking about, I feel like it's people coming and gardening and growing food for the needy.
yeah,
Where there's other community gardens where you can go and rent a plot and you can grow your own
Your
food.
own,
Right,
right.
And I don't know what people are requesting.
How do you determine like engagement in something like that then?
Yeah, it
Do you
really
know?
wasn't, it really, there's no detail other than community garden for Apex.
yeah.
We got 50 acres on that transfer site.
Right. Yeah, right.
Hey, I was thinking of composting.
Yeah.
Already got
We got a lot of uses for that place.
Yeah, we do.
I've seen community gardens under power lines, power right-of-ways. It's a,
You gotta talk to Duke. I don't know if they're gonna allow that.
I'll say,
Apex
you can
has
talk to
one.
Apex about it, but Duke, I can
They're
tell
not
you,
gonna
they
say, Yeah.
yeah,
have to have access through there, and I deal with those, with Bruce Pate with Duke, and I've had him tell us we had to remove a birdhouse on a 4x4 post before.
you're kidding. I knew the gas company was like that. I was talking to Phil Barnes, and there's a power line set right alongside of the electrical facility that he wanted to use. And he indicated to me, and I side with you, but he indicated to me that, Duke Energy, they'll let you do what you kind of want to do.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
wondering-
It's only till they find out.
Until you get
about
caught,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Until they find out.
I did try to talk to them about putting a kind of a buffer on their right of way, and at that time, this was 20 years ago, they were okay with it so long as the plants didn't get up to a certain height, which made a lot of sense.
It was a
You could put
different company
infrastructure
then.
perpendicular.
That was a different company then.
It was. I'm not sure it was even Duke. I think it was Progress Energy at that
It was
time. And-
CPNL probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, CPNL.
Yeah, and
CPNL, but still, like I said, you could put infrastructure in perpendicular underneath of it, and then again, if there's street trees required, you have to have supplemental plantings to go with a tree or a shrub that's not only gonna grow at a certain height. So, yeah,
I hear exactly what you're saying. I know.
And I'm not sure a garden maybe would be the best thing to put in a power line maintained, especially if they're using herbicides. You don't want to drift it into your gardens that you've installed there.
Yeah, it was just done out in LA, and they did the plots. You got your own little.
plus transmission line areas that makes a lot of people nervous too. I mean,
I'll strike it. I take it all back.
that hum you have in the summertime with high energy usage, the line starts sagging even more too. So
I did find a event I was thinking about during the fall. It's the National Night Out event. It's October 1st
Okay.
this year.
Mhm.
So they have that, it's Touch a Truck, and then the police department and Apex Parks and Recreation
town event,
Cultural Resources. So it's an evening event, October 1st.
It's good to know. Thank you.
Interesting topic would be eating local. Just throw it out there. Y'all can think about it.
Okay.
Hey, Suzanne, I confirm with the clerk that if there's like a request this group has for like interacting with other departments, that you can go through them and they'll distribute the information out. So you don't have to go directly to Angela or whoever at Parks or it'd be easier to, I think, have the request go to one person.
she's out of the country till the 20th. So
Well, I mean, anyway, yeah, just
Yeah.
the clerk's office can help out with that. Please, interactions.
And sort of going back to that, how would we even find out what kind of garden people wanted? Like, if, could the social media folks launch a survey for us on our behalf? Like, if we wanted to like poll residents of the town, like do an online survey, is that possible? Maybe not that topic or just any topic, really.
Yeah, I think the question would be, have we done it before?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's been done before, but that doesn't mean that we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We would probably just wanna talk to them about what that looks like.
Sure. Okay.
So I wouldn't say yes, but I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
I was thinking the
Understood.
town had put out some poll requests before.
They have,
Okay.
you know, for, you know, budget initiatives. Or
Right,
capital initiatives.
right.
So my concern would be, we wouldn't want to just take a poll out on the town's website without like the council, you know, being
Mhm.
aware of it.
Right, sure.
And us polling, because each advisory board is an extension of the mayor and
Yeah.
council, and so we don't want things to get out before they are aware of such survey.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
And most of the time when the town is polling things, there are already initiatives and things that they're aware of.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and, okay, yeah, and so then maybe we would want to pose a series of questions, so it's not just a one-off kind of thing, and of course, run it through council. Okay. Right. Any other thoughts related to festival subcommittees, outreach? Okay. Any other open discussion items you all would like to bring up? All right.
I'm finding that I don't have the free time to be the liaison for Tree Cap and Beat City, and wondered if anybody else wanted it. It doesn't take up a lot of time, it's just I don't have a lot of time.
I could probably do tree cap a bit. Let me ease in and see if I,
Okay.
You'll be mostly talking to Phil.
oh, okay.
Yeah. You're already talking to me.
He goes dark on me all the time, that's my big problem.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Yeah, just give it a try.
Thank you
and-
so
I'll give it a
Yeah.
try.
All right, excellent, thank you. All right. Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Patrick. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time tonight.
You got my email, I guess, on that.